Hey everybody, it's Bruce here from WaterBear. WaterBear is a revolution in music education. We believe in knowledge is free, and that's why we share it like we do. Now, my career goes all the way back to the late 80s, early 90s, right the way through to today, where we do things very, very differently. So let's combine the best of the past and the best of the future, make a sensible plan and get going. So today we're going to talk all about how to prepare for a music audition, and not just how to prepare for the audition, but how to actually land that gig. Now, this might be a little local band, or it might be a big band, and you never know when that opportunity is going to come. Over the years, I've seen it many times. Opportunity can come when you least expect it. Sometimes it can happen 2 or 3 times in your life. You get that break, so let's be prepared for it now. When it happens, let's make the most of it. So this might seem like an impossible dream, landing a gig with a big established act. But this is about narrowing the odds in your favour. So it's taking something that seems almost impossible and moving that to a position where it's simply a bit unlikely, and moving that for a position where it's a possibility to being likely to in a certainty. And it's about managing odds. So I'm going to tell you a fishing analogy. Some of you may know I do a lot of fishing. Now, when you're looking at the North Sea or the English Channel and you're going to find a particular fish, a cod for example, that is very much a definition of a needle in a haystack. And a lot of people think fishing, like music, is about luck. Actually, it's very little to do with luck. It's about every decision you make taking you further and closer towards the desired outcome, be that getting the audition, landing the gig, or catching that fish. And it starts with every single thing that you do. Every step is important because you're only as strong as your weakest link. So let's give you 3 tips to land the auditions and get the gig. Tip number 1, first impressions count. Most people lose the gig in the first 10 seconds of meeting the band and never know why. And any hint of thievery behaviour or fuss or not understanding how the game works, you can smell it a mile off. And the band are going to be thinking, is this person someone who's going to make life easier and solve problems, or are they going to be the sort of person who creates problems and makes life more difficult? So I've got a story to illustrate that. Little Angels needed a new drummer on the first album. It's a very common situation that when everything gets serious, bands need a really great drummer. So there's often an opportunity to audition at that point and get into a band that's got a record deal and all that stuff going on, got touring activity, an amazing opportunity. So we advertised for drummers. We had a long queue of drummers, and because we knew we were going to have to live with this person on a tour bus for years potentially, we wanted someone who was positive and would overcome obstacles. So we brought the worst drum kit we could find to the audition. It was one step up from a child's toy kit, and we did it deliberately to see if anyone would moan, and sure enough, probably 50% of the drummers that auditioned moaned straight away. So we would discount them. We would also discount anyone who talks about having their own personal manager, and we'd also discount anyone who turned up with a roadie as well. Any hint of big time diva-iness, if it was going to happen in the first audition, sure as anything it was going to happen on a tour. And the drummer who ended up getting that audition was the late Mike Lee. Mike was an incredible musician, and it was an absolute privilege to play with him. I will remember that audition for the rest of my days, because Mike was thankful to be playing drums at all. He absolutely hammered the hell out of the kit, played like a god, was extremely positive. He brought energy and enthusiasm into the room, as well as incredible musicianship. So there you go, job done. It was a very simple decision. That's the man for the job. He went on to play for The Cult, Page and Plant, loads of other people, and had an incredible career. And the foundations of that career was great talent and positivity. And of course, musicians of that standard can make anything sound good. So you need to be able to play or sing in any circumstances through any equipment, literally any equipment. Because don't forget, when you're touring internationally, half the time you'll be on hired gear. You've got to make it work. You've got to sound great in any situation. Tip number 2. Preparation. Preparation shows a level of respect for the music. A lot of people get auditions and in fact job interviews slightly wrong because they try to play it cool. They try to kind of imply that, yeah, they're not that bothered. The end result of that is you won't get the gig. Enthusiasm is what it's all about. Don't be afraid to show that you're really keen about this gig. Obviously do it in a cool way. You don't want to be a fangirl or a fanboy about it. You are a professional, but show enthusiasm, and the best way you can do that is to learn the material inside out, back to front, so you could play it in your sleep. And again, you need to be so well rehearsed that you can play this material with no vocals, for example. You also need to be adaptable enough to change the arrangement on the spot, and some people will throw stuff at you, like ask you to come up with parts on the spot as well. So the more prepared you are, the more able you will be to be comfortable with being spontaneous and flexible on the day. And that sense of relaxation but authority is what you're looking for in a professional player. Tip number 3, end the audition in a really professional way, because this is just like a set. People remember the first song and they remember the end. It sticks in their mind. So say thank you for the audition, appreciate the opportunity and the stuff that you've learned from it. And make sure you leave your contact details, and make sure you've got the contact details of the band, and then very crucially, make sure you monitor your emails really carefully, because there's nothing worse than being offered a gig, not checking your emails for a week and then losing it. And now I'm going to give you an example of someone I've worked with for many years. He's a guitar player and a songwriter called Chris Leonard. And I first met Chris well over 20 years ago when he was at one of our first batch of students. And Chris and I sat down, and between us, we worked out a way of auditioning. And the reason we did it, the opportunity had turned up on a TV show. They wanted a house band. So Chris was up for the gig, and we worked out a strategy, and this strategy ended up working. He got the gig. That led on to him playing as a session musician for Busted, which led to him being in a band called Son of Dog, which is a major label band, an offshoot of Busted, which then led to him writing songs with Ed Sheeran, and a career eventually as a very, very successful writer. So Chris and I sat down, and we knew there was going to be a lot of guitar players for this gig. So Chris worked out he was going to look really cool, he was going to have a really cool guitar, and he was going to demonstrate that he could play in the least fuss possible. So he opened the guitar, put it on his neck, plugged into the amp, played an A chord, crang, made the thing sound amazing, rolled off the volume and didn't do anything else, and then waited for instruction. Then he nailed the song. Then he did all the other stuff, gave his contact details. But actually, on all those occasions, Chris got those gigs on that one chord, because he demonstrated he could really play. He could, simple done well is always hard to do. And then there wasn't any fiddling about. Fiddling about will lose you a gig. Drummers fiddling with your hi-hat will lose you a gig. Guitarists tuning up audibly will lose you the gig. Showing off a Steve Vai will lose you the gig. Vocalists doing some extraneous warbling, it will lose you the gig. The value of silence. Demonstrate you know your stuff, then shut up. There you go, job done. Thank you for watching. I've been Bruce, you've been brilliant, and don't forget you can do work like this here at WaterBear full time. You can study for a master's qualification or a BA honours degree. You can do it online or in the heart of Brighton with us here. And if you're interested, pick the phone up, drop us a message, we'll send you a prospectus and tell you how to apply.